Knowing Mongolia quite well, we looked at the records from the Ministry of Mines, found that brine aquifers were found close to the border with China in the 90s, the 50s, and sampled as recently as 2016. So we bid for a license by the name of Baavhai. It is 81,000 hectares, the largest land package ever granted to any public or private entity by the government.
Hello and welcome to viewers tuning into Assay TV. We're with ION Energy Limited today, and I'm speaking with Ali Haji, who is CEO and Director of the company. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So ION Energy is a unique Mongolian lithium play. Could you just start off by telling us a little bit about the company, please?
Sure. ION Energy is a company that I co-founded in August 2017. We were in Mongolia advising a gold company actually through its acquisition and go public transaction. Knowing Mongolia quite well, we looked at the records from the Ministry of Mines, found that brine aquifers were found close to the border with China in the 90s, the 50s, and sampled as recently as 2016. So we bid for a license by the name of Baavhai. It is 81,000 hectares, the largest land package ever granted to any public or private entity by the government. It's around 24 kilometers from the Chinese border. It sits in the Gobi Desert, so a very arid region, dry and 250 days of sunshine with very high winds, I beg your pardon. And we also very recently acquired the Urgakh Naran license, which is 29,000 hectares of highly prospective brine in Dornod province.
Excellent, very good. So thinking of your flagship project, the Baavhai, I hope I said that right. You've got some exploration commencing there. Could you take us through the drill program and some of the key dates that are coming up for over these summer months?
Absolutely. We spent October last year doing some geophysics, CSAMT, and some microseismic. That helped design our exploration program, overseen by Don Haynes, one of our technical advisors. And as of May, we put some drills on the ground. We had the diamond core rig drilling to find out the stratigraphy. We're pulling up core samples for assaying, and we're also pulling brine to have that sampled as well. So we're doing a total of 21 holes over 2 targets, Li11 and Li8, which is where we obtained our original samples. And we're pressing on quite well, given the climate during the summer months being quite favorable for getting exploration done. We expect in the next couple of weeks here, we will have completed the drilling of the Baavhai license. In terms of actual assaying, the labs, as you can imagine, are a bit backed up as a result of COVID, but we've been told anywhere between 3 and 8 weeks before we start to see results. So we're really excited with the progress the team is making on the ground. They've been able to work uninterrupted, unhindered, and continue to explore as we speak today.
Yeah, fantastic. Just tracking back to the project itself, as you described, you've got this, you're the largest solar holding globally, and you mentioned it's one of the largest exploration licenses granted in Mongolia. It's really exciting, but are there some additional advantages in the positioning here? You don't traditionally think of lithium in Mongolia, but you've got fantastic potential with that, and also regionally in terms of where this lithium is going to be going to at the end of the process.
Yes, of course. If you look at the world today, China consumes 53% of the world's lithium. They produce over 70% of the world's batteries, and they refine around 80% of all lithium that goes into batteries worldwide. But if you flip that on its head, where does China get its lithium from? The vast majority of lithium that goes into China comes from Australia, the hard rock projects that are located there, as well as some LATAM brine projects that obviously service that demand as well. Now, the world, in our view, is shifting towards a more continental supply chain. The US is bringing multiple assets online. Europe, through the European Battery Metals Alliance, is bringing on Serbia and Portugal as hard rock assets that might serve, the Northvolt big operation that's providing the batteries for Volkswagen and the other groups in Germany. And if you look at China, the vast majority of lithium, in fact, very close to 90%, if not more, is being imported. So as the continents start to look for a more continental supply chain, our proximity to that large market, I think, makes us strategically positioned to really take advantage of that massive demand in the region.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Okay, coming back to the company then, you've recently had some additions to the advisory board. Could you take us through the team and some of the quality that you've brought in.
Sure, and I'll touch on two of the other folks that are on my advisory team as well. We have
Sure.
Paul Fornazzari. He's the original chairman of Lithium Americas. He was also a director at Neo Lithium, and he's a partner at Fastcan, where he leads the global LATAM mining group. We have Don Haynes, a very technical geologist, one that spent a fair bit of time all around the world looking for lithium. And then as of this year, my two recent additions are Dr. Hashbat Dashtetsaren. He's a PhD lithium hydrogeologist. He's located in Mongolia, so he's my scientist on the ground, if you will. He spent a fair bit of time at Akita University in Japan studying the extraction methodologies for the various resource types in Mongolia. So he ensures that we're correctly executing the exploration program that has been designed by Don Haynes here in Toronto, but also scouts the country for additional license acquisitions for the company. My most recent addition is Dr. David Deeks. He's a PhD from Oxford University. He also was the Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer at Lithium Americas. And prior to that, he was at Tesla, where he worked with senior leadership to put in place Gigafactory 1 in Nevada. So we've sort of built a team that not only looks at the strategic side of the house, one that looks at very much the technical side of the house with respect to exploration. But then again, we're looking at the technological side of the house with the addition of Dr. David Deeks. So I think we have a very well-rounded advisory team to ensure our success.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so coming to the company financials then, you recently completed a public offering. Where does that put you at the moment? Does that fund all of your exploration work that you've planned for this phase?
Yes, and then some, actually. So we raised about $5.75 million back in, we announced it in March. We initially announced 3 million. We had demand for 10, didn't want to overly dilute the company. So we settled at 5 and took the over allotment option to help pay, the lawyers, the auditors, and everybody else that you have to pay when you do these things. And that 575 that we took in brought our bank balance at the time. I think we're in and around the 5.5 range now. That keeps us fully funded for our exploration program on Baavhai. It keeps us fully funded for our exploration program on Urgakh Naran. It gives us a little bit of a cushion to look at additional acquisitions in country. But I think importantly, if you look at us as a company, there's about $11.5 million in warrants that would convert as we hit certain milestones and our share price starts to accelerate as well. So there is no financing overhang for the company. We are fully funded, no requirement to raise capital at this time. And when the additional 11.5 starts to come in at whatever pace it may, obviously we'll start to do a couple more strategic things at that time. As a company, I would say, given we are undergoing or we're conducting exploration at this time, as we start to see results come in over the course of the fall of this year, I think that's when we'll have the bulk of it as a result of the exploration that's ongoing. We may be looking at potentially speaking with a strategic to come in for perhaps a toehold in the organization, be it 10% or just shy thereof, likely a board seat. But I think ultimately bringing in a strategic at that level allows you to leverage their strategic or rather their intellectual capital to better understand our assets, better understand how these assets will go to production. But we would also give them a ROFR on potentially acquiring these assets and bringing them to production in the future as well. So as a company, I think you're working with a team that's done a vast amount in country, in Mongolia, understands the market, is close to the strategic market that is Asia, and has built a team as well as has a financial position that will ensure its success.
Yeah, very much so. Excellent. So we've spoken about your flagship project, but then we also have mentioned Urgakh Naran. Could you just give a summary of the exploration there?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start to do some microseismic and some geophysics in and around the time that we complete our exploration program on Baavhai. We spent some considerable time designing that exploration program. We will then do a diamond core rig, very similar to what we're doing at Baavhai, until which time we will deploy our truck-mounted auger, which is company-owned, line the holes, ensure we're bringing up the brine without any contaminants, and have that assayed as well. So there are a number of drill holes that are expected for that asset as well. It is in Dorn-Govi province, which is an extremely infrastructure-rich province in Mongolia. The railway into China, along with the One Belt, One Road sort of construction of a greater railway that runs through the region will be through that province as well. So really well placed in terms of the infrastructure and also in the Gobi Desert. So the climate very much mirrors what we have at Baavhai.
Yeah, so I was going to ask actually, how does Mongolia lend itself to the brining process as well? given this is such a unique project within the country?
Well, Brine is, it's, if you look at some of the assets in the Atacama, they're obviously at a higher elevation. And so their evaporation rates would be higher than what we would experience at 13 to 1700 meters above sea level, which is where we're located. But that said, with the 250 days of sunshine and very high winds, you could have some decent evaporation rates. We're currently studying the weather data in the region. So we have access to the Ministry of the Environment in Mongolia that we're accessing their weather data for to better understand evaporation processes. But I think the advancements that we're seeing in terms of direct lithium extraction should also be considered. A lot of brine can be extracted, or a lot of lithium can be extracted from brine using resins from companies such as Lilac Solutions, amongst others. So while evaporation has been sort of the more traditional approach to extract the lithium, direct extraction, given the proximity to one of the largest wind farms in Asia, along with the grid being only about 60 kilometers away from our Baavhai license, should not be ignored.
Yep, indeed. Excellent. So just to sum up, really good value proposition. What would you say to investors to look out for specifically within the exploration that's coming up, and the value proposition that you're bringing for the rest of this year?
Sure, I would say, for the next couple of quarters, expect results from our exploration programs on both Baavhai, kickstarting exploration on Urgakh, Naran, and results shortly thereafter. From a valuation perspective, the company today is trading at about 36 cents a share on the Toronto Stock Exchange, the venture exchange. We're also on the OTC and in Frankfurt as well. We've had some reports from various coverage that have valued us anywhere between 88 and 91 cents. Given we are fully financed, given we are a team that's done this, as I said, in the region before, we have the utmost support of government and obviously our proximity to the largest market along with our strategic partners, would tell you, I would hope, that our value proposition is quite strong at these levels. And you can expect to see a fair bit of execution from the company in the coming quarters and years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, plenty of stuff to look out for, and great insights there. So thank you very much for talking with Assay TV today, Ali, and we look forward to catching up on how things are going later on in the program.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.